Texans fans, the franchise is at the center of a storm that goes far beyond the four lines of the field. Controversial decisions involving multi-million-dollar contracts and unusual privileges for their players are shaking up the entire balance of the NFL. While a young star of the team receives one of the highest payments in the league for his position, another newly arrived talent is challenging the traditional negotiation system with a fully guaranteed contract that has paralyzed the signing of hundreds of second-round draft picks. What does this mean for the future of the Texans and the NFL itself? Welcome! Show your support for the Texans by hitting 100 likes on today's video. When we talk about talent and investment on defense, Derek Stingley Jr. stands out as the great protagonist of the Texans. The cornerback, who recently renewed his contract for 3 years and an impressive $90 million, not only earned one of the highest salaries for his position in league history, but also unanimous recognition from NFL coaches and executives. At 24 years old, Stingley is already seen as one of the top 2 cornerbacks in American football, second only to Defensive Player of the Year Pat Surtain's second. This recognition did not come by chance. Last season, Stingley allowed only 4.9 yards per target, the lowest average among outside cornerbacks with a minimum of 30 targets. With 42 receptions allowed in 90 attempts, 18 passes defended, and an opposing quarterback rating of just 56.9, he cemented his elite status by registering 10 interceptions and 31 passes defended since 2023. Beyond the numbers, Stingley's playing style impresses thanks to his rare combination of physical strength and agility. An NFC assistant coach highlighted his evolution. He is physical, much thicker than he looks, and has explosive movement skills. He's always had this in his game, but his career start was slow due to injuries. Today, Stingley's presence is a true anchor for the Texans secondary, which, even in rebuilding mode, seems to have a talent with potential to be a reference for years to come. The franchise bet heavily, and the market also confirms this. In just a few months, he became the highest-paid cornerback, albeit recently surpassed by Sauce Gardner of the Jets. This young talent's valuation reflects part of the Texans' new face, who seek to rebuild betting on promising defensive pillars. Stingley's impact on defense is more than tactical. He represents hope and a shift in the team's mentality, which in recent years has suffered traumatic results. The market's and rivals' response show that the Texans now have a high salary accompanied by responsibility and keen eyes on the player's physical preparation, development, and immediate impact. While Derek Stingley Jr.'s future promises to be bright and momentarily stable due to the length and confidence of his contract extension, another equally controversial chapter unfolds in negotiations. The Texans' boldness in contract management was not limited to defense. Rookie wide receiver Jaden Higgins, a second-round pick in the last draft, received a historic and fully guaranteed 4-year, $11.7 million. This unprecedented signing in this format broke a 14-year NFL tradition, which until then reserved full guarantees only for first-round picks. The consequence was immediate and clear. 30 of the 32 players picked in the second round have yet to sign contracts, creating an impasse shaking the market and keeping many young talents away from training camps. The instability caused by the Texans' move led agents to increase demands for similar guarantees for all players in the same draft tier, while franchises weigh the risks of setting dangerous precedents for future negotiations. At the core of the impasse lies the NFL's policy, which traditionally defined contract values by draft position, but left financial guarantees for negotiation between players and teams. Now, with this pattern broken, the system feels threatened, revealing vulnerability to repercussions that may extend to later draft rounds and strain team budgets. Teams' fear of guarantee escalation and long-term effects reverberate behind the scenes. The situation is complicated further because NFL rules prevent unsigned players from participating in training without risks for teams, keeping athletes sidelined while negotiations continue. This scenario harms team development and even creates internal problems for the Texans, who still have another second-round pick unsigned, offensive tackle Aaron Arzuri, adding palpable tension within the organization. Though seen as pioneering by some, the Texans' stance questions league management strategies, raising concerns about competitive balance and financial sustainability. Moreover, young athletes face a dilemma, deciding their futures without full participation in preseason activities, a crucial element for adaptation and performance. If this policy remains, it is expected that the next collective bargaining agreement will again be a hotbed of intense debate. The Texans' movements in this market not only push a contract value revision, but also spark a broader discussion about the value and financial protection of young talent in the sport. Faced with this scenario, it is clear that the Houston Texans are leading two distinct but intertwined fronts of fundamental changes in the NFL. On one hand, investment in young stars like Derek Stingley Jr., who raise the team's standards on the field. On the other hand, breaking traditional contract systems with Jaden Higgins, which could radically transform future league negotiations. Thus, it becomes evident that the franchise is living a decisive moment that may define its trajectory for upcoming seasons and its influence in the administrative landscape. The Texans are not just playing football, they are manipulating the rules off the field in a risky bet with heavy consequences for the future. My firm opinion is that the Texans are taking a bold stance that can both guarantee leadership and renewal on the field and destabilize important backstage relationships. The bet on Stingley is right and necessary for the team to shine again, but breaking guaranteed contracts, despite being innovative, carries enormous risks for the NFL's negotiation chain. Will this approach pressure other teams to follow suit, or will it simply create a bureaucratic crisis that delays the overall development of young players? So, fan, do you think the Texans are on the right track by challenging the system and investing heavily in youth, or are they digging a hole that could hurt the team and the league in the future? Write your opinion in the comments. Let's discuss this decisive franchise moment. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel to follow everything about the Texans and the main controversies in the NFL.